Flowdreaming.
Today, we're going to tap into the energy of the earth and moon. For our healing and manifesting practice, I'm going to show you exactly how to do this, how to expand and magnify what you're able to do and accomplish. So everything has a flow of energy, whether it's the ocean tides, the seasons, or even the thoughts in your head. We swim within the lunar and terrestrial cycles in particular, and they cast their influence on us every single day. So how do we connect better with them, and why should we? Let's explore how practicing rituals tied to the earth and moon can root us into the earth so we can unleash even more in our intuitive and healing practices. You ready to go? Me too. So first of all, I want you to start thinking about honoring the rhythms. The rhythms of flow, and of course in Flowdreaming, we talk about this all the time. That everything really has a rhythm to it, a flow of energy. And this flow of energy that we are within here in this place in space and time, it often has a certain cycle to it. Now let's take the seasons as an example. We have winter, spring, summer, and fall. We also have a kind of cycle that corresponds to our own lifetime. We have birth or infancy, which is like spring. We have youth, maidenhood, which is like summer. We have autumn, which is adulting. And then, of course, we have the winter, which is the end of our personal season. I want you to imagine that whenever you're manifesting within one of these seasons, one of these cycles, actually multiple seasons, multiple cycles. You may be in actual summertime, but the autumn of your life. Every day has a cycle to it as well. The sun rises, we've got morning, we've got afternoon, we have evening, and we have night. So bear this in the back of your mind, because this is the basis really of what this energy means. So bear this in mind, because this is what this episode is all about today. I'm going to show you why ground and down and up and out are two complementary energies. If you think of the ground and down, that's our earth energy. The up and out, that's our lunar or celestial energy. And as we're moving through these seasons of time and our lives and our day, we're being simultaneously influenced by both. Okay, I know that's a lot already. You're like, already over my head. No, please, actually not. Being physical means that we've centered our awareness on the physical world around us. Being non-physical means that there's a part of us that is very aware and very active, even as we're trying to physically navigate through our day. When we are creating something, co-creating, manifesting, using energy for healing or intuition, we're caught in this swirl, in this eddy. If you can learn how to better master your position within all the energies, you're going to be able to better master what you're creating for yourself and in your life. Okay, let's go backwards a little bit here. We're going to talk about a couple of the big rhythms that are going on in the earth that are affecting us and what we're creating at any point in our life. We start with the equinoxes and the solstices. Now, the word equinox, oops, I stumbled over that. The word equinox is derived from the Latin word equus, meaning equal, and nox, meaning night. So this is the day that the sun shines directly on the equator, causing day and night to be nearly equal. Now, this is different than a solstice, which is marking the shortest day of the year and the longest day of the year. Now, it depends on what hemisphere you're in, because my summer solstice and the summer solstice in Australia mean very different things. One is heading into cold temperatures and what we would call wintertime here in the northern hemisphere. It all has to do with the way that the earth is rotating on its axis and tilting toward the sun or away from the sun. But it's these very days that mark the change of seasons that all of life has become accustomed to, that this flow or rhythm is operating within. So you can imagine if you're trying to grow something big and bountiful in your life, yet you're in the dead of winter. You're not exactly capitalizing on the kind of seasonal energy, the universal energy that we're in. So we're going to get more into alignment with things so that whatever we're doing is the best possible thing we can be doing in any season or time of the year. Let's go back though to the earth. It is incredibly grounding for us, as we all know. In fact, we're going to talk about grounding as we move forward a little bit. But the opposite of the earth and its groundedness is, of course, the sky, the moon, space, the celestial bodies that are out there, not just the moon, but I'm just going to focus on the moon because it's the closest one to us. And there's a lot of interest in using, quote, moon magic nowadays. The moon is also related to us, or relating to us every single moment. It is waxing or waning, it is full or it is dark or new. One, two, three, four. You guys catching on? Right? Everything is one, two, three, four. We're also manifesting within its cycle. And as we all know, the moon affects a lot of us, well, all of us, in ways that science is really still trying to figure out. Studies have shown and are continuing to be done all the time on the moon's effect of our sleep, our mood, even your menstrual cycle, the melatonin levels that correlate within our bodies and our cycles. Admittance to hospitals and ERs change during periods of, say, the full moon or the new moon. Similarly, traffic accidents and crimes, even fish spawning are governed by lunar cycles. So if you just file that away in the back of your head, that the lunar cycle is affecting us, the solar cycle, which is reflected in, of course, the equinoxes and the solstices, is also affecting us. Okay, that's a little bit of heavy background, but I wanted you to feel a little grounded in what we're talking about so you can put some faith and trust that if I do this, I might get a bigger boost or a bigger bump, from it. So about a year ago, I began moving my practice, my clients, and my mastermind into more alignment with these earth and moon energies. As a result, we have been doing workshops on the full moon, the super moon, the equinox, etc. And I've been watching and monitoring what has been the effect of this. So for me personally, what I've experienced is because I spend a lot of time in sort of an expanded non-physical realm, right? Every time I go into flow and I'm reading energy and I'm out there, I'm going what I call up and out. And after doing that year after year after year after year, I started to realize I need to go ground and down because if I'm always up there, I'm like a balloon that's floating in the sky. And so bringing these rituals into my life and acknowledging the seasons and the earth and tying my manifesting to it more, I feel has been a missing piece in helping me really have the full the full enchilada of what I'm trying to create and make. So let's talk about how we're going to be using this earth energy in our practice, whether we are manifesting, creating, healing, really anything that's utilizing any kind of non-physical energy. Well, we always talk about grounding when we talk about earth energy. In fact, in mental health, they use the term grounding to help people move through trauma, to get out of negative thought cycles. And those grounding techniques are as simple as, excuse me, maybe counting backwards from 10 down to 1 or taking 5 deep breaths. They are practices that create awareness of the moment and a stillness and awareness of the body. And it's a form of self-soothing and it works wonders. But we're going to do a little bit of a different kind of grounding. We're approaching it from a spiritual aspect. So when you're going to do a practice of yours, whether it's Reiki or flow dreaming or an intuitive reading, whatever it may be, you're going to benefit by doing some form of grounding. Because if you're about to go up and out, if you're about to use energy, you want to make sure you're fully anchored into the earth and into its grounded depths, if you will. So the way that people do that popularly, and you've all heard this, I'm sure, is you get your feet on the ground, right? You lie down on the grass. You take the sun into your body. Sun energy, not moon energy. Sun energy is earth energy. Lunar energy is, well, space or celestial or non-physical energy. So you want the sun and you want the earth and you want the grass and you want the trees. So take a sun bath. Another popular way of doing it is to just imagine that your roots are going into the ground. Take a few moments and close your eyes and feel that energy. We've done this practice before, right? In different meditations, you feel the roots coming out of your feet, going into the ground, and kind of anchoring you. Like, actually, not kind of, but literally, energetically anchoring you into the ground. Now, what happens when a big, beautiful tree is anchored into the ground? Its roots go deep into the soil, deep, deep and wide. It can handle any of the billows and the blusters and the storm that shakes it from above. So that's our goal, to stay grounded and down even as we're going up and out. In addition, I wanted to show you this. I brought a Shiva Lingam. Some of you know what this is. It is a spiritual stone from the Narmada River in India. And it's associated with the sacral chakra, which is your second chakra. That's the orange one, kind of around little below your belly button area. And I particularly use this for grounding. Although it is considered a balanced stone, it sort of integrates, being that it is with the second chakra, or what I call the energy organ of my abdomen, where my prana is, where my manifesting energy comes from. When I'm feeling this stone, when I'm imagining the grounding, it's so heavy in my hand, I even feel anchored down by it, which is exactly what I'm intending. So you're going to use this or use any of these suggestions that I've given you, especially when you're about to do an energetic practice of any kind. Or here's another time you're going to use this earth energy, right? This ground energy. Whenever you feel scattered, whenever you feel overwhelmed, whenever you feel spacey or unfocused, and get this, even when you feel frozen. I say, why frozen? That doesn't sound like that being spaced out. Freezing often happens after we've reached a point of overwhelm where there's so much we can't move. You guys ever stared at like a really messy room in your house? Oh, come on. I know we have one. We all have one. A messy room. And you think to yourself, or the garage, oh my gosh, I have to clean this. I need to get in there and clear this clutter. I need to do this. And you just end up standing there and you go, I'll do it later. That's exactly a feeling of going into overwhelm, getting absolutely disconnected from your goal and desire because it was so much. That's exactly the time when you want to go and ground and down so that you can pull yourself back into place. So if you've got areas of your life right now where you're frozen, things you have put off, you call it procrastinating, I'm going to call it being ungrounded. So it's a more gentle way of being with yourself as well. So this is when you're going to bring that earth energy into your practice. Now, on the other side of things, when are we going to bring that lunar energy, that celestial energy into our practice? And what does that exactly do? Well, the moon is, of course, is going to be enhancing or subtracting from whatever it is you're trying to do, make, or create. So think of it like the moon is saying, I'm full tonight. I am shining my gorgeous light and energy down upon you. Whatever you're doing, I am lighting up. I am revealing the invisible right now. Because think about a beautiful full moon night. It wakes me up, frankly. Full moon nights are the worst. I sleep terribly on those nights. It's illuminating what's unseen. So the kinds of practices you want to do on the full moon are where you want to build things or make things or expand things or see into things if it's an intuitive practice. Those are going to be your rich times and your rich moments for doing that kind of work. Likewise, on a new moon, when the moon is dark, you're going to want to do things that are more introspective. This is when you're not initiating new things, but you're actually going back and finishing old things. You're bringing them to conclusion. You're using the soft reset energy of that moon. Now, To go back to the beginning, what happens when we put all of this together? Well, hopefully by now, you're starting to see all these different layers, right? These kind of seasonal layers moving through our lives. We have the sun and the moon doing its thing, the season, which are, of course, hooked up to the seasons itself, which is also laid on top of the seasons of our life, laid on top of the seasons of our day. But really, it's all the same thing. I'm just pointing out four different ways of viewing it or noticing it. I could even tell you about more cycles that we're constantly moving through, but I think this four is enough. So when you are creating, when you are manifesting, when you are wanting to make something big and beautiful in your life, the first thing I want you to think of is this a ripe time for it? Is this a good moment for it? How much will I get if I put myself into this? Or is this more of a time when I should be pulling back in and going into that reflective mode? So in flow dreaming, I simplify things. Tide comes in, tide goes out. Or as I like to say, wax on, wax off. If you're a Gen Xer like me, you know exactly where that comes from. That's the simplified version of the four into the two. Energy is either pouring into our life or receding out of our life. And both of those are incredibly valuable moments to make your big work in, your big magic in. And if you correspond the right moment to the right kind of magic or manifesting or healing, you're simply going to get more. Think of it like a surfer, right? They want to catch the biggest waves. Well, if they're really good surfers, they're going to head on down to Hawaii and they're going to catch like the 100-foot, like crazy waves. Most of us are going to be content on the 8 foots. And those of us who are learning, we're on the 2-foot waves. So I live in California, if you can't tell. So much of, in fact, my background here on this, the video that I'm making of this podcast is actually a beach itself. So when you want to create something really big for yourself, you might want to choose an equinox or a solstice. You might want to choose a big shift. And if the moon is being helpful to you, maybe that moon is full. Maybe it's a super moon on an equinox. Holy moly, right? That's like the that's like the trifecta. In fact, we had one of those this year. And we took full advantage of it. That's riding the big 100-foot wave. Very potent moments. Now, that's not to say you can't, take advantage of simply one full moon a month. You can do a lot of work on that, or one new moon a month. What if you have, say, a desire to make or heal or create something and you really don't want to wait? You don't have to. There's no rule about this kind of work. I'm just trying to help you see, when are you most in alignment? When is nature and the heavens going to give you the biggest boost? The biggest, when are you facing a headwind versus having, the wind come up behind you and help you go? So if I'm creating something that's not on any particular date, I'm also looking at other aspects of my life, such as, is it the morning time? In the morning, I am bringing up that birth energy, that spring energy, that growth energy. Midday, yes. Notice how we all tend to, well, not some of you have to work at night, but society is really based on working in the daytime, right? That's the productive time. That's the growth time. Evening time is the wind down time. That's the autumn time. And of course, winter is where we go quiet and literally our conscious minds turn off and go blank. That's winter. So you might want to think about doing your manifesting in the morning when you are riding that small sliver of upward growth time. So the morning or the mid-afternoon would be a perfect time for it. You might also think, I'm at a point in my personal year where I'm feeling the ebb as opposed to the flow. Meaning maybe you've had, and remember, your seasons don't necessarily correlate to the actual seasons. It's not like everybody has everything great in the summer and everything is not happening for you in the winter. They don't always align up, but I just want you to notice that it's always there. Just sometimes they're a little different from one another. So maybe you have just gone through the spring and you thought it was going to be a time of birth and like newness, and instead it was your quiet time. And some things fell out of your grasp. Some things broke. Some things shifted. And you say, what? This feels like winter energy. This feels like, oh, this is the ebb, not the flow, right? Tide go out. So you want to notice, where have you recently been in your own life? If you are in the tide going out, it's going to ask you to do something different than when the tide is flowing in, when the energy is piling into your life. When the tide is going out, the kind of work that you're going to do is healing work, maybe not so much manifesting, but going in and shoring things up. That is your time for self-care. That is the time for getting grounded. That is the time for reflecting on what's occurred and really becoming clear on, when the energy reverses again and goes big, who do I want to be in that? Right? That's the time for thinking, for healing, for moving through the things that you've already done. So this was a lot of information, and I hear you. I probably should have broken this up into multiple different training episodes or lectures or whatever. Um, but I kind of feel like they all go together. So maybe if you haven't thought about it this way before, think about it in your own mind. What season in my life am I in? What hours of the day are the most potent for me? Are there moments during the month when I feel more activated, when I feel more connected? Are there days of the month when I feel low, when I feel the least connected? Of course, women often sync up our menstrual cycles with the moon. Those are moments of releasing and letting go, not necessarily making and going out, right? So we're being very thoughtful about where we're at. Again, this is really most useful to maximize the energies that are out there. I'm not saying don't do what you need to do when you need to do it. You can always do what you need to do. If you're manifesting and it's a new moon and it's December and it's freezing outside and it's dark all day, you can do that. Even though that would be more traditional yin energy as opposed to yang or yang. I always mispronounce that one. So it's okay, but you may have to give it a little more love. You may have to give it a little more intention, and you may want to modify how you're doing it a little bit. So I hope this has shown you how to more effectively kind of bring the ground and down with the up and out, so that I guess it's a balance that we're getting to, but it's also the ability to reach into either form of those energies when you need them for the magical energy work that we do. Now, a note, we are flow dreamers here. My principal practice, as you know, is to flow dream, and flow dreaming can be used for both manifesting as well as for healing. So I'm also being very conscious that when I am flow dreaming to create something, for instance, I'm going to choose the times when the energy is fiery and warm, when the summer solstice is high in the sky, when it's morning time for me, or I am feeling this kind of big uppouring of energy and lava and action and potentiality in my life. On the other hand, I might use my healing form of flow dreaming when I'm feeling cooled down, when I'm feeling slowed down, when I'm feeling that there's unprocessed stuff and I can't just pour more energy on top of it. I've got to let the rest of it go through me and move through me. That's when I'll be doing work around healing my heart, healing my self-trust, releasing things from me, releasing lack thinking, releasing fear. That's the kind of work that I'll be flow dreaming for in those cases. Okay, if you want some direction on this and flow dreaming is piquing your interest, whether you're a longtime flow dreamer or a new person to this, I am going to suggest some flow dreams that you can use. I have several that are at the shop at flowdreaming.com. And I think some of the best ones for you are going to be ones surrounding your body, because that has to do with healing, and ones surrounding self-love and self-trust and self-confidence. So I have a couple beautiful playlists that I would highly recommend you work with. When you are creating something and you're in that outward, earthy, growthy phase, you might use something like Confident or Going Big, which are great playlists for that, things that are growing and blooming. When you are not in that space, again, you're going to use the ones that center around healing. right? Things about healing your body, things about healing your heart and mind. And I'll have some of those links up for you as well, so you can go directly to them. All right, I'm going to recap here what we talked about today and make sure that you are absolutely focused on what you should be doing and when. So you're going to ground and you're going to use earth energy, both seasonally, such as during the equinoxes and solstices, when the moon is full, but likewise when you have an overabundance of non-physical or untethered energy or lunar energy in you. So that means whenever you're feeling spacey, overwhelmed, scattered, or frozen, I'd like you to note at that point, just file it away. What are some of the best grounding techniques that work for me? You just kind of keep them filed in the back of your head. As I pointed out, I use my Shiva Lingam. I also go out and stomp around on the grass. That's one of my favorite ones, and go, fiddle around in my garden and play with my rose plants and so forth. Anything with nature instantly brings me down. If I can't get out, I'm going to definitely do the eyes closed, feeling my energy root down into the earth and get that sort of visualization of my body connecting to Earth's body. I also want you to notice the situations that typically unground you. And I can do a whole episode just on that. But we all have things that unground us. If I work too much with too many clients in a week, I will become ungrounded. And I can tell because everything slows down. And instead of getting stuff done, I'm not getting anything done. I'm just kind of out. And I go, I'm ungrounded. I get ungrounded when I'm in crowds. You empaths, I've talked about this before. We have a lot of situations that really unground us. So crowded places, shopping malls, theme parks, oh gosh, tourist destinations with too many people crammed in. Get me out of there. I go into full meltdown mode. Notice which ones affect you and have grounding in your pocket for that. On the other hand, notice when you are needing to go up and out a little bit more. And that's when you have been working, when your mind has been spinning, going overtime on things, and you're feeling like there's all this stuff I want and want to create, but I don't have time for it. I don't have the bandwidth to give attention to it. This can indicate that you're stuck in kind of an opposite energy, one of overload and overwhelm. It's a different kind of overwhelm, though. It's such a focus on what you're doing that anything of a greater awareness or greater direction can't even get to you because you're so busy. You're not even listening. That would be the time when you want to go ahead and use some of that lunar new moon energy, that celestial energy. Go up and out, reach outward, still your mind, process, let things be. So that is kind of a recap. Again, a lot of thoughts there, but hopefully, if I throw all the spaghetti on the wall and mention a bit of everything, something will reach you that you needed to hear most right now. So think again. Life is about seasonal layers in our energies, our bodies, the solar system itself. What sort of energy are you in right now? Is it up and out energy, celestial, or is it ground and down earth? How can I maximize that energy with whatever I'm doing now? And if I'm trying to do something that doesn't seem aligned, can I shift it a little bit or maybe choose to do the aligned thing instead? Because ultimately, I want most bang for my buck when I'm doing this kind of work. And I think that you do too. All right, if you guys have questions, I am always available. You can always reach out to me. I love hearing from you, so please leave me some feedback. And any of you who are watching this as a YouTube podcast, I'd love it if you also left me comments because I am just experimenting with this format. If you're listening to this podcast the regular way as a podcast, well, you can also reach out to me. Just send me an email. With that, I hope to see some of you in the mastermind. We have a monthly workshop where we sync right up to the seasons. We sync right up to the equinoxes and the solstices, and we do the right kind of work at the right time with a different focus in our life each and every single month. So one month we may be opening our spiritual intuition. The next month we might be doing something like creating something big and beautiful, birthing something. It's always different, and I'm listening very keenly to where we're at. I didn't even mention astrology, but you guys, there's so many different layers of influence that are going on at any given time. Um, but in our mastermind, we tend to adhere our flow dreaming more closely to these different kinds of seasonal and earth and celestial energies. So please think about joining us. We're a really fun group. And with that, I think it's time for us to wrap up. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope to see you all again and that you love this episode of Flow Dreaming. Still kinda woo woo.